Welcome to the Q&A session for the last autumn, which is part of the 31st edition of Nordisk Panorama 2020. The film is not only nominated for Best Nordic Documentary, it also has the chance of winning the Audience Award. So please do not forget to vote after this session. My name is Martijn. I'm one of the co-programmers of the festival. And I will be hosting this Q&A, and I have the pleasure to talk to the director of the last autumn, Yrsa Roca Fannberg. How are you doing, Yrsa?
I'm good. I'm in Iceland.
You're in Iceland, probably in the countryside?
Yes, I am in the countryside. I live in Reykjavik, but I took a few days to pick blueberries.
I understand. Thanks for your fantastic film. It's a wonderful poem, I think, that touches on many different subjects and about transformation, a lot of wonderful subjects. You were part of the countryside in your childhood. Can you just describe just briefly a bit about that?
Yeah, it's actually the mother of my friend here. I was at her farm, which is on a small island. And I spent my summers there, maybe I'm the last generation of Icelandic people who actually did that.
Okay.
We, instead of being sent to a kindergarten or something, we were sent to the countryside. So, which was I just love the countryside, I would spend most of the time with the sheep, or they had cows, and I would sleep, if I could, with the cows because they were warm. And I would even, this sounds a bit crazy, but I would actually eat the grass and the food, So I was a bit like a wild child in that sense, to my mom's embarrassment. But so I spent my summers there, and so countryside was kind of always, I really feel at home there,
Yeah, and eating grass is just to feel like a sheep, just to see if you can feel like a sheep. Or... Maybe. I still do it. If I'm on a big patch of grass, I have to taste it, And it's like, why don't they make grass ice cream? It's fantastic. It's like matcha or something, Okay. Well, I feel that the film is very well crafted, and of course, farmers are craftspeople as well. Do you see maybe even some similarities in filmmaking and farming?
It's in many, especially in the north, where the film takes place. It's kind of, I'm going there next week to be one of the herders, because that's also something I do every year, and it's a collaborative process, like filmmaking is, and this film maybe especially is like really crafted because it was taken on a Bolex that was really noisy. The motor made insane sound. So for the sound guy, he had to redo a lot of the sound afterwards, So he had to do the things again just for the sound, and picking everything together is very much craft-like, like Ulfar's barn is. It's all handmade. It's all made from driftwood, from that that arrives from Siberia, So in this film, yes, it totally goes together somehow, Maybe it wasn't, like many things are not planned, but, they make sense.
Well, it also consists of a very precise planning, it seems, and a very calm way of thinking and logical thinking to get to where you need to go to, either farming or making a film.
Yeah. This is not really a camera where you run after him with a camera. Like he thought I would do that, and then, but I think strangely, or not strangely, but because it was shot on film, I think he puts a different kind of value to what we did. And I think in some ways he sees that the film is somehow his heritage. No one is taking after the farm, but he has the film. Somehow, these things come afterwards, and he would never admit that because he's very stoic. But but I think he had that somehow ingrained in him, and that's why he was so easy to work with, and which is not always the case with farmers. To control a farmer is like impossible because they're used to do.
But I feel that's also the way how you deal with him, and he must have trusted you immensely. So in the end, it is nearly a love story or tribute to him, but also, of course, to their life, a sense of transformation. How do you see that?
Yeah, strangely, my first film, Salma, which is quite a hardcore film, but she loved the film. So she kind of, and she was like, she really, she really liked the film. And then when I came, and I was a bit, it's not really the same kind of film, because that one is so much based on, confrontation in a way, But I think he also thought, because I had been one of the farmers for herders for 7 years, I had helped them, and in the countryside, and especially in that community, which is what is so striking, is like, they just said yes because they wanted to help. They didn't even think about it. They was like, and they just wanted to help me.
Fantastic. Just there's this one scene that I thought was so loving. It's a lunch scene where you see Ulfar and Otni from the back, and the first lunch scene, and then you film them from the front, and then you film them a bit from the front and above, and you don't even see their faces, but you see how they move with their hands and stuff. But you also feel the strong connection. How did you think of that scene beforehand, or how do you plan that kind of very precise kind of?
I spent since the idea came to me that they were quitting, I spent quite a few times with them, and I was just observing things. I take a lot of analog photographs. So I was just, and then one day we came to do a bit of the shooting in June before, and they were eating blueberries and skyr. And we just thought, the colors are so lovely, and so we decided to film that in the film,
Okay. And of course, you also play with color and black and white, and movement and not movement, photos, stills. I feel it works all perfectly well. How did you conceive of that? Was it all conceived beforehand, or did it all happen in the edit? Or both, combination?
Well, I was taking a lot of photographs, and I always said to my editor, I want to use them with the credits. He was like, no. That's just too bad, cheesy. That's no. But we always had in the back of mind how they could be used, and they are funny because they are kind of not my nicest photographs. They're all blurred, dark, but they just fit. And then we created a time when we are not with the person, in the beginning, it's like the time before him or the time after him, and the same with the photographs. It's like when he has sent the time away, we kind of give him the space to process that on his own, So it's kind of the time that is not with him, So that was created in the editing room.
Yeah. And you also created a photo exhibition out of it eventually.
Yes.
Okay, wow. There's also, of course, a bit of mythology in the film, both through poems and music. Well, maybe you can tell a bit about Icelandic mythology. Not maybe all the viewers are familiar with it.
Yeah. I kind of what we wanted, it started with a quote from the Eddas, how kind of out of the chaos the word came, so out of so we thought, even if this kind of life stops, life still continues. The mountain is still there. He's still alive. His grandchildren, he owns the place, he spends half. but there is a transformation, you know, and I didn't want also to make a film that life was better in the past, you know. You might think so, but it's a very kind of, I thought it was kind of a, who knows, you know. So the idea with this mythology is like, you know, life continues and life is born out of this chaos, you know, and that's kind of, I mean, the mythology is more like, you know, it sets a certain kind of tone and it places it in time rather than being pure mythology, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he, and that's why we kind of use the same song in the end and the beginning, and why he appears and then disappears, you know, it's kind of to create that kind of circle, which Nordic mythology is very much based on, you know.
Circular time.
Yeah.
With of course certain points of reference, like the smoking of the pipe. There's all kinds of repetitions. The radio that comes in between, where the world comes in all its glory.
Yeah. And even in that, like the song with the photographs, you know, the lullaby, we kind of used certain phrases from that in the beginning of the poem. And I got the Icelandic writer Sjón, who has, you know, he's co-writing what's his name, the Lighthouse director's new film.
Okay.
But anyway, I used to babysit for him, so that's how things work in Iceland. So I phoned him, and I was like struggling with the text, and I was like, I don't know. And then someone said, why don't you just get a writer? And I was like, okay. I phoned him up, and he did it in like 10 minutes. I mean, he's a genius, you know, he's so quick. And we just gave him some skeleton, and he just sent it to me, like from the airport or something. And so we wanted to play with like how in the photographs, you know, the cracks of the eyes is also in the poem and stuff like that, to make it, you know, like small things that you might not notice, but as a filmmaker, it's very nice to craft it like that, you know. That's why we're talking about the craftsmanship. It's so nice to play with these little things, you know, because it should also be kind of fun to make a film, you know.
Why not?
Yeah, I know. I mean, you should enjoy the process, because the process is almost more important than the end result, you know. It's where it brings you as a human, you know, as well.
Well, of course, you also feel this sense of community, even if you don't even see so many people in the film, but the family and the farmers that come to help him with the herding and stuff, which is also an amazing scene where the music is very experimental. Yeah. Maybe that's something to talk about briefly. That's a very different scene. There's a few ruptures in the film, and this is one of them.
Yeah, and talking about the music in the beginning, it's also like I have always been kind of against using music in film. You know, I don't like to underplay some emotion. So on the very first day, I was talking by Skype with my editor because he lives in Spain. And I was like, in my next film, I want to use that. And he was like, why don't we do it in this film? And then we just tried it out. And it became, you know, rather than being underplaying something, it becomes a narrative element, you know, in both cases, you know. And with that herding scene, it was also, it's one of the scenes that we hardly touched, you know, we polished it, but it was just, we started it, and it was kind of difficult how you make, you know, trying to make it narrative didn't work. So I also wanted it to be kind of a sensory experience outside of the film somehow, you know, and that Godspeed You Black Emperor, even I didn't know them so much, but we just listened to the song. Even the song's title is Lamb's Breath, you know, and it was just like, wow. But that's something I found out afterwards, you know, and but that's something, you know, with all these elements. I worked with my editor, which is really, he's a very good friend of mine, and he works on my previous film as well, and kind of, he just, you know, we kind of allow itself to try things out. And So yeah, so that scene just worked like from the very first moment. You know, it was.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Very strong scene.
Yeah.
Also, just the fact that you feel that there's so much at stake, and of course, every sheep that's lost is big. It's a big thing. Yeah.
It's money, you know.
Money, yeah,
And it's
life.
emotion. It's emotion and money, you know. Of course,
Exactly.
of course. But it's also what they survive on, you know. It's and also you have got all the people coming from Reykjavik to help you, and if 15 of them escapes, it's really, you know, they can be out for the winter because next week can be a snowstorm, you know. So I thought it was also, I don't know, it's also the breaking point of the film. It's where the film changes. To me, it was important in the beginning also to be with them, their pace, and yeah.
Yeah. You're starting 2 new projects. Can you already talk about that or not really?
I'm starting on a. It's mainly one film, you know, that I'm started working on. I will see if the other one fits into this film, but one of them is kind of based on photographs when I went to South America. And as an Icelandic filmmaker, I work full time, and I work in an old people's home.
Okay. And these photographs are about that, or?
No, my trip to South America when I went backpacking the first time, like 40 something, you know, and you know, and I wanted to tell my trip to one of my good friends in the old people's home, but then she passed away. She was like 95, so it's kind of a letter to her.
Okay.
Like,
so you were always playing with old and young and new and old and
yeah.
It seems.
Yeah, I don't know how that one, you know, but the film I'm really starting to work on, which I can't talk too much about, but it's in the old people's home.
Okay.
With them. It's not about a certain kind of, but it's about that moment in time, you know, and to me, you know, having grandparents who passed away quite young, to me, it's an achievement to reach this age, and I think it's something that we should all be kind of proud of, and not, you know, in society they tend to be kind of forgotten, you know. They don't have a say because they are not paying their taxes anymore, you know. They, you know, in the capitalistic society, whatever, you know. But you know what I mean? It's like they don't have so much of a voice anymore. So in some ways, I think all my films, maybe in one way or another, are about people who don't have a huge voice in society. If there's because a small scale farm is also doesn't really, you know, they're not.
No, I agree with you, and I can even say that in the selections of the festival, there's a lot of films with voices that are hardly heard. So maybe just to counter a bit of people that are very prominent everywhere. Thanks a lot, Yrsa, because we have to wrap up. It's nearly 20 minutes. Thanks a lot for everything, and of course, good luck with your new films. Thank you all for participating and looking at the Q&A, and please, there are a lot of other films to see as well, and don't forget to vote. And hopefully we'll see each other again, Yrsa, and enjoy the festival. Thank you.
Thanks.